Christmas false flag operation, question mark. This is what we're gonna talk about today. Hi, I'm Elena and this is my channel Enough. Today we will talk about several things. Mostly it's about the ceasefire in Ukraine proposed by Putin, Russian president. And what we're gonna talk about today also, I maybe show you a little piece, if YouTube will allow me, of old Soviet movie, which called Weather is Good on Deribasovskaya. It rains again on Brighton Beach, with Dmitry Kharatyan as a lead actor. This film was made in 1992. It was joint Russian-American production, comedy film, and this line, it was like a secret password for agents, for secret agents. It refers to Deribasovskaya Street, actually in Odessa, Ukraine. Nowadays Ukraine, but it used to be Ukraine as a part of USSR at the time. And Brighton Beach, basically in New York City. And what it is all about, you'll find out soon enough. And we will talk about Russian Christmas, Orthodox Christmas. I call him Russian Christmas by habit, unfortunately. It's a bad habit, I know. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So please stay tuned. And also, I'll show you a shaman in the end. So please stay with me till the end of the video. Today, according to several news agencies like BBC included, this article says Ukraine war, Kiev reject Putin's trivial Christmas truce. The nerve of that man. Putin is a KGB agent. He is saying there are no ex-KGB agents, and you should trust him only on this one thing. There are no ex-KGB agents. I met them in the past, and I can say that if you watch my video, which called 7 questions about KGB, you will find out how it all happened and what is KGB agents. Basically, many of them look like Putin. Tiny, scrawny, nobody, like a moth, unconscious, as the Russians would put it, somebody who you wouldn't look twice upon. So much they blend in the crowd and doesn't look like anything. And lots of those little people with big inferiority complexes get into KGB, and Putin, one of them, who was bullied in the past just because he was a little tiny gray person without any spectacular qualities in any way, being a good friend, good person, good somebody. And so I ended up in KGB and ended up basically paying back to society for didn't treating him well in childhood or whatever. I'm no psychologist, so psychologists will talk about it more closely. Nevertheless, the article says that Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered his defense minister to impose 36-hour ceasefire on the Ukrainian front line beginning on Friday from 12 Moscow time until and for 36 hours basically. And it sounds like Putin asked Ukraine to reciprocate, but Kiev quickly rejected the request. And now, oh, bad Ukraine. Russians gonna blow it all out of proportion and tell how horrible Ukraine is and this and that, just because they don't want peace on Christmas. And quickly forgetting that this is what happened on Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. Like, I have friends in Kiev who was bombed on Christmas, on New Year's night, New Year's Eve. And part of university of my friend, which my friend attended, I believe this is the part of the building, was destroyed and broken, as you can see. And I had a video in my previous video about one of the buildings and so on. And oh boy, bad Ukraine. Russia bombed them on New Year's Eve. Russia bombing Orthodox churches, hospitals, kindergartens on Christmas Day, on 25th and 24th. And no, that's not a problem. That's okay. This is what American President Biden's commented upon of that ceasefire. He said, "I'm reluctant to respond to anything Putin says. I found it interesting that he was ready to bomb hospitals, nurseries, and churches on the 25th and New Year's Eve." And he's right. And the same thing saying Ukrainian President Zelensky. And now they want to use Christmas as a cover to at least briefly stop the advance of our guys in Donbass and bring equipment, ammo, and mobilized men closer to our positions. I totally agree with President of Ukraine Zelensky. This is another BBC article. Ukraine war strikes on Kherson, kill 10. This what happened on Christmas. On Christmas, which the whole world celebrating. 24th of December 2022. This is Kherson, which Russia proclaimed now that they annexed and it's supposed to be Russia forever. Now they bombing a Russian, in their opinion, city and killed 10 people. Dozens injured. And Russian airstrike on the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson, official says. So this is how Russia treating Christmas. This is how Russia treating New Year, which is in Russian opinion even bigger than Christmas. I told you already that New Year in Russia and ex-Soviet countries, many ex-Soviet countries, and probably in Ukraine as well, it's way bigger than Christmas. Because USSR was trying to destroy religion and proclaim that everybody's supposed to be atheists and so on, and we're not religious. And instead, we should understand that it basically was a cult. USSR was a cult. It was a new religion. It wasn't communism. It wasn't socialism. It was a cult. Dictatorship and a cult. And they proclaimed it non-religion, but it was religion. That is why they were so viciously going after Russian Orthodox Church at the time. And basically, it's not... Nothing of it is anti-religion. They're trying just to exchange Russian Orthodox Church in Russia to the new religion of socialism, communism, or whatever they call it. It was never communism, it was never socialism, it was a dictatorship. I remember it very well because at the time I was a student of university, and I was a Komsomol member, which is Young Communist League, which majority of us were. We were, if you will watch my playlist about USSR and Russia, there is a video about young organizations for young people, youth organizations in USSR, and it was one of those organizations was Komsomol, and it's kind of after being a Komsomol member, you can later go and apply and become a member of the Communist Party, the only party of USSR, but not necessarily you will be allowed to do so because you have to be a certain way and you have to be proving yourself in many ways and so on. Nevertheless, I personally at the time have never been in church. Well, never I couldn't say because I have been in church once, but I don't remember it because I was a baby. I was secretly baptized in Russian Orthodox religion, as many Russians at the time, and majority of Russian people were baptized, but it was very secretly, and even Communist Party members secretly baptized their children in Russian religion. But again, I was baby, I didn't remember. And I wasn't even allowed to visit churches because it was frowned upon. Like if you, as a, let's say, a young person or any person visiting church, it would be a big black mark, like a target on your forehead. And my university in the big city, 1 million people city, sent Komsomol members like me, basically forced them to go to church. I think it was Easter. And the reason they did it, they wanted us to report as being good Komsomol members, Young Communist League members. They wanted us to report on any students of our university who we will notice in the church. Of course, I not gonna report on anybody. I couldn't refuse it, and because also I was interested to see what this Russian church inside looks like. And so I went together with a bunch of other Komsomol members. Of course, I wasn't going to report on anyone, and neither who I know of my friends was going to report on anyone. And we didn't even see students from our university there. But nevertheless, that was our duty, to go there, pretend we're religious people, and report on people who not supposed to be there because they didn't send by Komsomol to the church, but came just because they are religious. And at the time, even it was like perestroika time and stuff like that, still was a chance that some of them, they will get in big trouble, first of all, if we would have caught anybody. And if it would be a few years earlier, they would have been expelled or kicked out of university for that. And most likely would be having hard time to find a job and everything. Because this is how communist, well, so-called communist, even USSR didn't call themselves communist, but Soviet country, USSR, was punishing people for being religious. Christmas wasn't ever, at the time, a day off. It was typical working day. Couple more words about religion. If you will go to my channel, this is my channel enough, if you go to playlists and see the playlist about USSR and Russia, this is the youth organizations, the video I was talking to you about, but right now I want to tell you about the video about Russian Orthodox Church, which would be this one. Satanism, Russian Orthodox Church and the war in Ukraine. This picture represents how Russian Orthodox Church dealing with the Russian Orthodox Church and the government. Basically, Russian Orthodox Church is a puppet of the government. It always was. It was the same thing in USSR. When I were at the church at the time, when I told you about, I saw a few KGB agents in there. I knew them because they came to my university earlier, trying to recruit our students to meet with foreigners who visiting my city and pretend that they just bump into them by accident and offer them a walking tour of the city, because foreigners wasn't allowed to see regular Soviet people. They was allowed only see approved Soviet people who was approved by KGB to meet with foreigners. This is how far Soviet government went to be able to control who is talking to foreigners in USSR. Not just any person, like if you come to the person on the street, many of them would refuse to talk to you at the time. And who wouldn't, if somebody would know that they talk to foreigners, they could get in trouble. So I recognized few of them in the church on that Easter celebration at the time. And I know that Russian Orthodox Church in many countries, not necessarily just in Russia, many of their priests are KGB agents or FSB nowadays. They always was and they always will be. Not hopefully always will be, but I mean it still is. It was in USSR time and it's in Putin's time. So when right now somebody blaming Ukraine for bashing some sort of churches, raiding churches and this and that, they're doing it because they're fighting a war, a real war where people are actually dying. And I am telling you that right now, in recent times, Ukraine finding some churches, Russian churches in Ukraine, basically money, weapons, and instructions and so on, how to support Russian army and betray Ukraine. So that is why Ukrainians doing what they doing sometimes. But nevertheless, right now Ukrainian Orthodox Church was always part of Russian Orthodox Church, and their patriarch, which I just showed you on the picture with Putin, he is Ukrainian Ukrainian church was under the rule of Russian Patriarch Kirill and Russian Orthodox Church. That's what Ukraine trying to get away from. Because in the video I told you about, you will see the priests, Russian priests, shooting weapons in Ukraine and supporting war in Ukraine, include Patriarch himself, supporting the war in Ukraine. This is outrageous, and so-called Christians who is saying that don't kill and 10 commandments, they basically spit on it. It's KGB, FSB, and Putin's puppet. This is what Russian Orthodox Church is. And now I want to show you a little funny story, kind of to illustrate my point. This is that video about on Deribasovskaya is good weather and it's rained again on Brighton Beach.
Я предлагаю тост за то, что стало возможным только в наше время.
This is Russian banya. This is Russian bathhouse. And these are the representatives of CIA and KGB in Moscow. And this is the chief of KGB saying, I am proposing a toast for something which become possible only in our times.
Перестройки, гласности и демократии.
In the time of perestroika, гласность and democracy.
За нерушимую дружбу Комитета государственной безопасности СССР и Центрального разведывательного управления Соединенных Штатов.
For a forever friendship between KGB USSR and the CIA of United States.
КГБ ЦРУ дружба на вечные времена.
KGB and CIA, friendship forever.
Русского балета, коллективный молебен в одном из храмов.
They're discussing eating crayfish and drinking beer and eating dry fish like Russians like. And they discussing the program of what's gonna happen with the meeting between CIA and KGB. They're gonna visit Russian ballet, they pray together in Russian church.
Поездка в колхоз.
We will visit collective farm.
Прогулка по Арбату.
We will walk on Arbat Street together.
Ну и еще придумаем что-нибудь.
And we will find out something more interesting.
Сейчас небольшой сюрприз.
And right now is a little surprise. So CIA had an interesting time in USSR, and meanwhile, they visited Russian church. That's what I wanted to show you as an illustration what I said about KGB and Russian church. It's a joke, of course, in the movie, but it's not so much joke. It's actually true. Right now, the KGB chief of KGB whacking chief of CIA on the head because the CIA guy lost a bet. So that's what sometimes Russians are betting on. And this man is a Russian priest. He was just complained to the chief of KGB that he not well respected in Russian church. And he's thinking that his church bosses didn't give him a next level, like he want to be promoted to be a major, like in the mosque, the KGB agent in the mosque become a major, and he is in the Russian Orthodox Church didn't get it so far, and that's why he's kind of complaining to the boss. And CIA guy saying, well, Muslim is a very difficult job. I understand why he kind of get promoted. But the priest isn't happy, and he said, well, maybe I should go work in synagogue instead. And that's why he get whacked on the head. So this was a joke, of course, but there was a lot of truth in it, saying that there were a lot of KGB agents in the church. I can't say everyone, but maybe every second one. That's about how many of them were in the churches. And meanwhile, Russians, majority of Russians were not religious as much, like they hardly ever visited churches. That is why in the English version of my video I didn't start from the warning. In Russian video I'll start from the warning, saying that I will not suggest to Russian people going to Russian Orthodox Church in Russia on Christmas Eve this year. Why not? Because Putin is very famous for his false flag operations, and they call it provocation. I hardly ever heard that word here in Canada or in the US and in any free world. So I wouldn't be surprised. I hope it's not gonna happen. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope that they're not gonna make some sort of a accident in Russian church and blame it on Ukraine. Also, I'm pretty sure that Russians not gonna stop firing at Ukrainians on Christmas. For Ukrainians would be extremely not smart to stop firing and stop any activities they need to do. On Christmas, on Orthodox Christmas, Russians didn't stop on regular Christmas. They didn't stop on New Year. They're not gonna stop. They're lying again, and even if they do, they will use this time for either spying or bringing more troops and reinforcements and so on. And if Ukraine, God forbid, shooting somebody at the time, they would blow it out of proportion how horrible Ukrainians are. No, they are not. Putin bombed them on Christmas Eve, on Christmas Day, on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and now they want peace on Russian Christmas just because a Turkish president suggested it? Yeah, right. So I wouldn't recommend for Russians to visit in churches in case of the accidents, so-called accidents made by Putin and KGB, or I mean FSB. And I would definitely stay away as far away from churches as possible. Meanwhile, Russians, even in USSR time and right now, and they all also Christian. Oh yeah, right. Putin visiting church is just disgusting way to see how that murderer of massive amount of people dare to step inside the church. Well, Russians believe in a whole bunch of superstitions, garbage, playing on guessing future on coffee and cards and everything. And I wasn't the exclusion, by the way. I'm very good with cards. About that, I can predict the future. So they believe in a whole pile of garbage. This is a shaman. They're going way further than just predicting on the future on the cards or anything. And it's not just tarot cards, it's just regular playing cards. So this is Russian shaman, apparently.
Соединенные Штаты Америки, конечно же, жаль их.
Well, Artur Tsibikov, deputy of the chief shaman of Russian Federation. Even in USSR, I have never heard of a chief shaman of Russian Federation. Guess what? He feels sorry for United States. Yeah, poor people in United States. He will feel he's sorry for you, guys.
Народ, но так исторически складывается, что Америка в ближайшее время может разделиться на несколько частей.
He is saying that we're very sorry for you, but you, America, nearest time will be separated in several parts.
И объявить о суверенитете несколько штатов.
Several states will proclaim their sovereignty. They will secede from the United States.
И, скорее всего, Аляска и Калифорния вернется в Российскую Федерацию.
Well, he's claiming that Alaska and California will come back to Russia. So brace yourself, people from Alaska and California. You can start packing your bags and crying right now, or rejoice. You're gonna be part of Russia now. Well, Shaman said so.
Бедная многострадальная страна, государство, наша соседка, в русский мир входит с тяжелыми последствиями, но...
And poor our neighbor, who suffered so much Ukraine. It's a state, our neighbors, which coming inside Russian mir, Russian world, with terrible consequences.
Я считаю, что будет...
But he's thinking it will be peace. Don't worry, Ukraine. It's gonna be peace, and you will be part of Russian world now. and Alaska and California will go back to Russia. So Americans, are you happy? I can't see you very much on my TV, but I kind of presume you jumping in the happiness that you're gonna be part of Russia now.
Мир будет очень скоро, и нужно немножко потерпеть и набраться силы духа.
Yeah, the peace will be very soon. You just need to suffer a little bit longer. Just hold tight and just get brave in your spirits.
В нашей Российской Федерации на сегодняшний момент идет рост, процветание, и весь мир будет смотреть, и Россия наша является локомотивом поднятия, развития русской цивилизации и спасения.
Wow. And Russia is the prosperous and wonderful country, apparently. It's a locomotive of the lifting up and development of Russian civilization and saving the whole world. That's what Shaman is saying. So, in case you didn't know that who is the world saver, it's Russia apparently. That's the Shaman said. He must know what he's saying. Please help Ukraine. Please share my videos so more people know the truth. Thank you for watching my video. Have a great evening and see you later.